All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
Brian Shusko.
Gentlemen, thank you for carrying on for me last week. Not for me, without me last week.
You look fine.
What? Yeah, we look great.
No, he's not on my phone.
I'm here.
I was in Tennessee doing
Tennessee things.
The basketball season's over. I was in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I don't know if you told. I know I got a lot of messages from a lot of fans asking, like, "Hey, where were you? Like, is everything okay?"
We know that's not true.
And so, just want to let everybody know everything's fine. I had to miss last week. The end of the season national tournament was going on in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and the Patriot girls team that I coached, two of my daughters. We went down there and we came home with a title. So, successful trip. It was fantastic. It was awesome. It's always awesome when you win, but it was horribly stressful. You could probably still hear it a little bit in my voice. My voice was absolutely shot on the weekend. Brian saw me. I was still out of gas, falling asleep. Couldn't even stay up there.
Oh, man.
During a birthday party. Brian and I were both in Richmond this past weekend. So we got back Thursday. I worked Friday. Then Saturday morning, Brian and I and another friend and tons of kids are carpooling over to Richmond for one of our friends that live over there, her 40th birthday party. And anyway, so we came back finally Sunday and then jumped right into Monday, Tuesday. It has just been a crazy time. But all that being said, I missed a lot, but we were winning championships.
Man, yes, that's worth it.
We were winning championships.
In the end,
it happens.
Yeah, in the end, you leave with silverware, and we sat here and looked at each other.
So. It was
much better.
It was not our finest hour.
No, look,
hour and 45 minutes.
We did what we needed to do. I feel like we talked through some important things, but whatever.
We still can't get the intro right, and by we I mean me.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just never, just like you never pay attention to what the screen looks like when you start. I never pay attention to what you say.
Okay.
So,
Right.
Whatever.
Understood. Well, a lot going on in the sports world here in America. We're not going to dive much into that, but we're in March. It's the basketball March Madness. We're like one long weekend away from the NCAA tournament.
That's
all the conference tournaments are going on this weekend. NFL, tons of free agents, quarterbacks moving. It's been an active week. This is not an NFL podcast and the NBA is getting cranked up, ready for the playoffs. Brian, I know that excites you.
And then, I mean, do you need time up front to just kind of deal with what you...
I was going to lean into that. You know me well.
Wrap it up.
I was just saying, and to top off everything else is going on. We got Champions League going on midweek. We got a Carabao Cup Championship going on this weekend, along with Premier League games, and we're going to discuss the blank week as we dive into this. What are we doing? What are we not doing? Just so much to talk about, but all we really want to talk about, Brian, is there's no way we've been recording for 16 minutes.
Yeah, what is that?
That is impossible.
16 hours.
We haven't been recording for 16 hours either.
No,
it won't reset.
It's 4:48 p.m. What we want to talk about is, I thought we would start just by talking about kind of how things went in game week 28.
Thank you, Brian, for reeling that in.
For some of you, it was probably totally
It was
fine.
brutal for me. I've had two brutal weeks.
For me,
I turned in a 51, one under the average. Last week was brutal. Probably my two worst weeks of the year have been the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bye, timer.
So last week, some big swings depending on what you did. We are finally at the blank game week 29, so it's here depending on how you're set up and what your strategy is. There's some Salah strategy that seems to be floating around, at least for content creators. I feel like it's worth talking about. We can just talk about that.
I am interested to hear what you have to say.
And then I think as far as decision making, once we wrap it up at the end, just to kind of talk through like the obvious. I feel like there's some very obvious picks. Nottingham Forest, I think now shooting all the way to the top for most folks.
Sure.
So there's a couple positions that
it's
you
too
need.
obvious.
So the back and middle of the pitch are really worth a little bit more of a look again. Travis and I did that last week, but we're gonna do it again, and then we'll wrap things up.
There's nothing we like better than rehashing the same thing over again, week after week.
Welcome to fantasy sports.
Right.
And then I think it's worth it just to think through some of the obvious and the big moves that the masses are making. So we'll wrap up with transfers at the end again.
All right, let's dive into it. Travis, we roll into this week, and some people have been planning for this for multiple weeks. Some it probably caught by surprise. They're like, oh, I don't have guys playing this week. I made 2 moves already this week, and I'm able to field a team less one. So I have 10 players without taking a hit.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
And I feel pretty good about that. I'm not looking to take a hit. I think I'm literally just going to roll into it with 10 players.
Yeah.
So
Travis,
last
week your team was fine enough that you felt like you didn't take any hits last week. Okay.
Well, I had 2 transfers going into this week, so I made those 2 transfers now.
All right.
And I wish I would have had those 2 players last week, but I didn't have them.
Okay.
So one of them being Bruno Fernandes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Who is now in the team.
Yeah.
I could cover it later, or I can say right now I've already done it. It's not even on the pod move. I sold Bruno, or I brought in Bruno, and I brought in Vissa. For Gakpo.
Yeah.
And
that other guy,
Cole Palmer.
Murphy.
Oh, Jacob Murphy. Murphy, who is still playing, Gakpo, who has been non-existent.
I think he injured himself today.
The only reason
I think he injured himself. He was limping around and
Gakpo,
not mobile. Gakpo,
yeah.
He was not mobile. Something was going on.
He'd
only had 1 day of training.
Karma needed to balance the scales going into the Carabao Cup final.
Yeah, because everybody has injuries except for Liverpool.
Liverpool doesn't have.
Now
we definitely don't.
Finally,
now. Once you got a 16,
I'm pretty sure
lead,
the statistics show the days missed from the starting 11.
Maybe if we can get
pretty dang close.
An unbiased VAR official in the
doubt
booth,
that
things
Mr.
will be really fair.
It is not close.
It is pretty close. It's.
We're not talking about Endo.
He's not been injured. It was.
I know. I'm talking about guys like Endo.
Allison.
Well,
like Trent?
No, guys like Saka.
McAllister?
No, guys like Saka.
McAllister has not missed much.
Yeah.
No, he hasn't.
He missed 2 weeks.
Who's your Saka? Your game week 28 was...
He missed 2 weeks.
Mine was terrible.
All right.
Mine was terrible. Just like every other week.
I never did look. Did you survive or did you do great?
Who's your captain?
I captain Salah.
Who's your captain?
Salah.
Okay, so that's where the problem is. My week would have been fantastic
had you captain
Cole Palmer.
Salah.
You captain Cole Palmer.
I sure did.
We talked about this. Yeah. I could not
you
what
still
the
outscored
heck?
Me not captaining Salah.
Well, that's because I had Bruno Fernandes and I didn't bench Matt Sells. But that's
I did bench Sells and Milenkovic.
You're crazy.
So
obviously
that one thing was. It's to me it was more of a toss-up going into the week.
You buried Nico Williams.
Yeah, of course.
But you started Sells.
Yeah, because I can't start Fabianski.
Yeah, I was saying you didn't have a choice.
No. Oh, okay.
I don't have another goalkeeper, but I didn't care.
Okay.
It's not like I got
it. It's a goalkeeper.
Who wants to make goalkeeper transfers? Listen, the Salah versus Palmer captaincy, in my estimation, is just it's a hat trick of luck, stupidity, and inevitability.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Because
he is jilted.
I'm angry.
He's
there's
only
no
the
other
highest scoring player. Yeah. And he might set a fantasy record this season.
Absolutely jilted.
And he was playing the worst team
right.
in the league.
This guy,
again, you can say that now.
Would rather talk about why Cole Palmer should have scored more and why Salah was lucky to have scored more.
Palmer did get sick.
Not only penalties, so you're relying on Salah's penalties.
Dodgy
There were balls
Brian.
in the back of the net.
They're not great.
Points are points, goals are goals.
Also, Cole Palmer did get a penalty. So the person
that's right, he did get it, and he
So
missed it. I
not
forgot
only-
about that.
No, Cole Palmer,
He
who
missed it.
who has never had a
about
penalty
that.
saved. He misses his first Premier League penalty kick ever.
I didn't watch that match, admittedly.
I forgot about that.
And then Maresca saying after the match, Palmer had been sick for basically 48 hours and begged to play. And so it was just kind of talking about his warrior mentality coming in there and putting in the performance that he did despite illness. So that's why I'm saying, if you knew, or if the world knew on Friday or Thursday or whatever
He had been ill.
that, hey, Cole Palmer's under the weather here, and they're not even going to call him a doubt.
Look, it's England. Everyone's always under the weather.
For sure.
Interesting.
But I'm just saying, despite all of that, even after, because it's the same thing as it was before. You knew that Salah was playing before Cole Palmer was this time. It was reversed last week. Palmer played first, and so you got to watch the blank, and then you got to watch Salah only get an assist in that game. So again, that was a swing that could have been huge last week.
So are you saying you got burned 2 weeks in a row? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that I think even this week, even if Palmer scores the penalty in a game that ended 1-0, then it's not nearly who knows what happens at the end of the game. They're relying on Cucurella to score the game winner at that point, but instead the other way, Palmer's scoring the first goal on a penalty. That's at least an 8. That's a minimum of an 8-pointer. So that's what I'm saying. Even points at that point is something. For him to miss his first Premier League penalty ever, even that gap, even if it was 15-8, which I don't think it would have ended at 8, he very well is probably in bonus given what he contributes everywhere else. He's a minimum of a 10, I think, in another universe somewhere where I'm happy
Ryan,
and everyone else is sad.
We hear you. It hurts.
No, I'm just saying.
It hurts. The numbers say it should have been different, but it wasn't.
It was not. And I'm saying there's a lot. It's a hilarious bit of hindsighting for everybody to say
it's not
now.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It's
just hilarious.
It's disappointing.
It's hilarious for you guys.
Well, for him, not for me.
It's not hilarious.
I have feelings.
Anyways,
He doesn't.
I, for one, am happy to have the perma captain Salah decision removed entirely this
week.
And I'm
So
kind
you
of
can
excited.
finally shift to Holland.
Finally, I can put the captain back on a guy who
You
I
do not
really
own Holland.
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
Yet.
I can't get to him.
Yet. We'll talk about that.
Can't get him. So it's blank time.
All right.
It's blank time. Munoz, blank.
No, that's a blank.
Salah, blank.
Right. Me,
Isak, probably hurt, but blank.
Trent, blank.
Also probably hurt. Probably out long term.
Oh, really?
I haven't heard anything yet, but it did not look good.
Trent had
It did not look good.
A weird twist.
I would not be surprised
in
if his season
knee
was
today.
over.
He had a shirt. You
It
watched
was
the
not
game.
good.
Shirt over his
It was
head.
not good.
Technically, he walked off, but
It was
it's not good.
I knew
And
that,
Konate also.
I knew that he was substituted, and I knew that I'd seen people say that it looked like it jarred in an awkward way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a weird bend.
It had the look of surgery may be required.
Morgan Rogers blank.
Yep.
Ollie Watkins blank.
Don't care.
Right, but it's a person that's
Marco Asensio also don't care.
Rashford. Yeah.
No.
So you are set up where you say you
I'm
are going to
10.
be down 1.
I'm down to 10, but I do have one free transfer, and
So
I'm trying
you
to
have
figure out if I will, because I want to, but at the same time, all the people I want to bring in all have blanks.
Okay.
You have Bruno?
No. Let me
Okay,
tell you a story about
But
Bruno.
why don't?
Go ahead, please.
Why
Go
not
ahead.
Bruno?
Let me tell you a story about Bruno. So we were just a little bit ago after dinner. Kids are having ice cream. They don't get ice cream often. Sitting out on the sun porch, hanging out, and
Was
my
the
daughter
fire
says
going on the sun porch?
the fire was not going.
Okay.
The fan was, but fire was not.
Okay.
And my daughter says, "Let's play charades." They saw it on some cartoon, Bluey
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
So they're doing.
Love Bluey.
Could never understand what the heck she's doing. Of course, my son immediately goes, "Mr. Mime from Pokemon Detective," because apparently she had memorized that whole. Yeah, Detective Pikachu. That's what it is. Detective Pikachu.
Right.
Okay.
So then it was his turn. He gets up. He stands there, and then he just like dives onto the floor and starts like writhing. And we're like, "What? Are you a fish out? What are you?" He goes, "Dad knows." I was like, "I don't know. What he's like, he's 10 years old." He says, "I'm Bruno Fernandez." He fell on the ground and was laying on the ground, rolling around in charades. He was Bruno Fernandez. I will not own Bruno Fernandez. He drives me up the freaking wall. I can't do it. It just, something in my body just revolts when I try and push the button.
I understand that. I do feel like if Dave is not only considering it but has actually already done it, I feel like it's a new day for Bruno Fernandez.
It's always a new day for Bruno Fernandez.
Right. Well,
he's got a $2 billion new stadium to look forward to.
He's on a 10, 10, and 9 in his last 3 games. Dave, were you counting on him scoring a free kick against your beloved Arsenal last
Definitely.
week?
Well, if you barely kick it over the wall and you have 11.2 meters instead of 10 meters or 10 steps, you have a little bit over 11 steps to get clearance to kick it over
Wait
the
a
wall.
second. Are you
You
saying
might
you
be
were
able to kick it
there was
over.
an injustice that was done?
Yeah, it was a TV. It was a TV decision too.
No,
they walked it off.
It was 11 steps.
Yeah.
Wow. I think
whatever.
that
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
you've
matter.
got a referee that was trying to screw you out of that. Did Arteta walk up to him and say, "If we lose the league,
Yeah.
I'm blaming you"?
Yeah. This has nothing to do. The title race has been over. It was over for multiple
True.
weeks ago.
Honestly,
So
I'm still a little bit worried about that.
Do you like the Liverpool fan accounts that put the side by side of Darwin scoring his goal with
geez.
Declan Rice scoring his goal and saying spot the difference, and it was Darwin like hyping up the crowd, and then the Declan Rice thing was him going over to the away fans and shushing them and like telling them to calm down. It was yet again another great moment in the Liverpool Arsenal fan rivalry. Dave,
texting my wife as she's texting me, and she knows I'm potting, but she's traveling anyway, so sorry.
just
You're
type back,
texting your wife as
I'm
she's
like-
texting you.
just type back the word eggs.
Sure.
I
should.
Speedo.
So you're gonna have you may or may not have 11.
I will have 11.
Okay.
Last
Who's
week.
to
Last
sell?
week.
Who's your sell?
Well, I still have Lewis Hall. So
there's
so
your
that's an
sell.
easy sell.
Yeah.
The issue is, who do I bring in?
Yeah.
And so my initial reaction was, oh, this is a great opportunity to get Munoz,
Oh, okay.
who blanks.
Right.
So it doesn't help me,
No.
right? So then I've got to, in order to bring him in, I probably will just wait.
Okay.
But then I've got a transfer for a 1 game week just to make 11. It feels weird, but doable.
So there are moves going into 30 that you want to have that are more than someone other than Munoz?
Munoz blanks in 29.
Right, I
so
know, but I'm
ultimately, if I
saying,
bring him
like-
in, it's useless to me.
Right, but I'm
This
saying,
week, yes.
like, is there not somebody else?
I don't think so. I like how terrible my team is, and I want to keep that going.
Okay.
I like being
that's
below
stupid.
average.
But-
That's stupid.
So none of us.
It's kind of my thing.
No, it's not.
Being below
You're
average.
not below average at anything.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, below average pod. That's what this is.
Right.
That's what this has been.
Yes.
So not one of us has to free hit. I wish there was a free hitter.
No.
I'm actually considering
There's
not free hitting, but
free
actually
hitting.
considering doing the.
If Scott was here, he'd be free hitting.
I'm doing the manager the manager chip probably. Assistant manager chip is what I'm looking at.
Starting it this week.
Thinking about it.
Okay,
29, 30,
so
31. You have to wait.
I want to wait because I want to catch a double game week, but at this point, I kind of
You know
also
what?
want to just get it out of the way
knowing how
so
much
that I can free hit.
the managers can score,
Yeah,
if you do hit a double match week, it is significant.
I think it is. So I'm I'm debating. I don't need a free hit, so that's fine. I'm
and
not,
it's
not
more
worried about it.
reliable. Now,
I want to wait.
I'm sure you guys probably covered it last
considering
week. I have never
No, we
struck
didn't.
out more on a chip than striking out on when I played the assistant manager. chip.
We briefly mentioned that you did it. I mentioned that you went for Ange Postacoglu against Manchester
And
City.
that
Yeah.
and that it was a terrible.
And that he was an idiot,
Yeah.
and that it was a stupid decision.
Yeah, we said lots of bad things about you.
It's all probably
no,
I'm
it
sure
was
all
more of
true.
a hindsight thing where it was like, well, now that I see the outcome, clearly it was an obviously bad decision that he should have known ahead of time. Is basically the way.
Even though you encouraged him the week before. Yeah, both those options are great.
I told you exactly. Play the tape back. I don't want to tell you what to do. For
you
that
say
exact
that every
reason.
time.
I know.
But I also said Glasner's a great idea.
I know. Yeah, I know. I agree.
That would have been
The biggest-
I was going for the bonus. I wasn't getting bonus with the Glasner.
The biggest-
It was pretty close to
I
the
would've
table
gotten-
bonus. So
I would have gotten points with Glasner.
But it almost worked. Oh, Glasner was worth another like 15 or something.
I know.
It was
That's like
gigantic.
the story of
Glasner's
your
so-
last couple of weeks, though, Brian. It almost worked.
True. Well, it's just that not only did Manchester City, who they would have gone 2-0 up, but had the goal, Holland's second goal overturned, and then Sonny nearly saved it for you at the end. So
I know.
So nobody's changed strategy. The
No.
only strategy possible that it could change is that he might intentionally go in with 10.
That's just not going to happen.
despite
And I'm
having
also
a free
not going to do
transfer.
the
If I had
assistant
a free
manager
transfer, I wouldn't be going in with 10.
I'm just not stupid enough to do
Unless
that.
there's like, hold on.
I just haven't identified who my last player is going to
run
be. It
down
will
your
be a
team
defender.
yet.
My team right now?
Yeah, your starters. Your
Se-
starters.
Well, I'm
Well,
just gonna give you
it's
my
only
team.
10. It's only 10.
Sells 8 Nori, Housen, Robinson, Ina, Palmer, Bumo, Dango, Salah is useless. Vissa, Wood. So I am looking right now at transferring out Hall and playing 5 in defense.
You need to get
And
Bruno. You don't have Bruno Fernandes.
And you're hoping that Dango gets...
I don't know what you're doing.
And Dango's going to get minutes
Bruno's
off the bench
red
again.
hot.
But
You
see,
go
I've
with
got
Bruno.
my that would mean I have to get rid of Rodgers, who I've got at
Bruno's only owned 13.7%.
That's going to come up, though.
And they're at Leicester this week.
No, he's got to get Hall out. The
I need
point
to get
is,
Holland. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going to
you
sell
can't-
Isak and get Holland. That's what I'm going to
if
do.
you have the money to do that, I would absolutely do that.
I do have the money to do that.
Well, look at that. He just solved his problem.
I don't really want
Bruno
to do that.
who?
Wow.
Who know?
Why do I want
Okay, so
alien?
I have one free transfer. I have...
If you can go to Holland this week, you go to Holland.
Morgan Rogers is my...
You're not the boss of me.
Morgan Rogers is my transfer unless if we get word that Trent is... If you really feel like Trent's a long-term injury here, then he's an easy sell because I go straight
Right.
to... Because then it's
I-
Guardiola easily,
100%.
no question. Yeah.
100%. Information's more important than price drop, and if we get information, his price is going to tank. But I can say right now, we should know something pretty quickly, and I would not be surprised if it was not good news. So,
Like Merseyside Derby bad news? Like beyond Merseyside?
that's what, April 1st?
Travis is thinking, some people are maybe thinking,
I think it's a season ender.
yeah, maybe.
I think I think it could very well be a season ender.
If it's like a bone bruise, or if it's
No.
if it's a hyperextension, or if it's a ligament strain, then it's weeks for sure.
It's at least 4 to 6 weeks.
I would say.
I would
it's-
bet at minimum 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I would
Probably.
agree
Plus,
with
you
that.
can't
I would agree
you
with
can't
that.
end his season with a ligament injury when he's going to Real Madrid. So there's no way he's gonna.
Yes, you
Well,
can.
Real Madrid has got ligament issues too. I think Marcelo's out with
Fair enough.
the same problem. So I,
I
mean,
thought
they're
he
used to
retired.
dealing with that.
For Madrid.
No, they're still paying him while he's out.
Have you thought any differently about, like, if you had 8 this week, you taking hits? Are you trying to set yourself up, like dead ending a team as you're like looking ahead?
He's
Like,
already, just like he's already given up on Arsenal's title hopes.
if
He's
I
given
have
up
8,
on his title hopes
and I have one
of
transfer,
we go
beating an 11-year-old,
we go again.
12-year-old.
Team Dave goes again next
we
season.
go again.
We go again next season.
Um,
Proud of the effort of the boys turned in. We go
I-
again next season.
No.
So you're saying I have one free transfer.
I'm
I
saying
can
if
take
you-
one hit to get to 10.
Yeah, I'm saying if you let's
I could take
yeah,
2 hits to get to 11. Is that what you're saying?
something like that.
I would take 1 hit to get to 10.
Dude,
I
you're
wouldn't,
50
I wouldn't
points
take,
off of. Oh,
I wouldn't
jeez.
take 2 hits, and then it would obviously depend on who it is too. Like if you had to take a hit to bring in Bruno this week, I think you bring in Bruno.
I don't understand why everyone's moving to him. Yes, he's got a couple of game weeks, but aren't they still hot trash?
3 game weeks.
10, 10, and 9 in the last 3 matches.
Aren't they still trash? He's the only good thing.
Manchester
At some point,
United is not good.
you can't ride on him, right?
And
They're playing Leicester, who's really not good.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying
that's not terrible.
The next 3 match weeks for Bruno are at Forest, home city, at Newcastle. I don't love any of those. But you know what?
Bring him in for one game
penalties. He takes their penalties. He's pretty good with free kicks. And I don't know.
Yeah.
He's
this game week maybe,
10-9.
but that run is terrible. After Leicester, that is terrible.
But sometimes it's
about the worst you could do.
Sometimes it doesn't matter for the top guys.
All right. Okay.
He hasn't been top. I'm just saying he's hot right now. Look, he could just as easily blank, but I mean, look at Cole Palmer. The only person who hasn't been blanking, period, all season is Salah.
True.
Well,
and Munoz. I still feel like the matchups kind of warrant a little bit more. I mean, I don't know that I'd go crazy. Like, I don't think I'd go beyond. I think 2 hits.
I don't think I'd go.
Like
I don't think I'd take 2 hits.
Like even the max.
I could take 1 hit right now to get to 11. I'm not gonna do it.
I like taking hits, and I don't think I would go overboard doing it.
Yeah.
Plus, I think a lot of it still depends on if you have a wild card. Which, if you don't, then that changes strategy. And
who's a wild card this late in the season?
Brian always has a late wild card. He always saves his wild card post week 30. Always.
I only need to make 1 transfer to field 11 this week.
That's great.
Right. So that's why I'm saying, like, it was just
that's amazing.
Bad.
Yeah, it's just more of a like moving on guys that I didn't feel like I needed, sticking with the players. Like, because a lot of the matchups I feel like kind of warranted it. The one guy I feel like I didn't do anything with is a Bournemouth midfielder, mostly Kluivert. I mean, I would have gone to Dango. I know I said that a million times, but now
I would go to Kluivert.
Whether or not Kluivert.
And if I could, I have Dango. If I could trade him for Kluivert, I would, but I cannot.
So as far as the blank goes, the people sitting at this table have can all field an 11 with no more than 1 hit. But everyone here is going to have a minimum of 10 going into the game week. I have no idea what to say for people who I don't know how you, without injuries or without moving on players who are suspended, Cunha, Gordon, etc. I don't know how you could have gotten into this game week where, like, because the winds had shifted so much on Villa. I don't really know what, like, you could have moved your Villa players on by this point. Like, I only have Morgan Rogers. Right. Maybe if I had Ollie Watkins or whatever. Newcastle, the players that you wanted, like Isak was the one guy, and even then, they're like, for me, it looked like injury concern. Gordon is suspended.
Yeah.
Lewis Hall's out for the season. So all the players who were like the pick for all of these blanking teams, and then Mateta's injury, like that was the one that like that to me, it solidified it. And I guess I just don't know how many people would have gotten themselves into a situation where you're like, I only have 5 fit and available players for game week 29. I certainly will be free hitting this week.
Right.
So
right. I got a question for you boys. I could sell Kanate,
which you should,
and bring in Gardeval,
which you should.
Could be a player that I could keep for the next few
He will
weeks.
double, yeah, for sure.
But it would be for a hit.
Yes.
Do you think I should do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this week I wouldn't worry about it.
They're home Brighton this week.
The thing, I don't see that. Like, it's if you're making it
like
as
he would, even if he got a clean sheet, it would be 3 points because you got to factor in the hit.
Right.
So, worst case, unless he scores,
I don't think
I'm going to be 3 points less.
I don't think they're keeping a clean sheet against anybody.
And they
the rest
might
of the
not.
I agree. And
so it's probably not worth it this week, right? I bring that up because some people might be thinking about those types of things. And once you get into now, again,
I like to bring him
going
in.
forward, like maybe the following week, I could keep. Obviously, he's a player I could keep over the next few match weeks, as City has a couple doubles coming up, or at least one. So it's not a bad move financially. I could bring him in. It's just, again, even if he holds a clean sheet and doesn't score, he gets a 3. And it's 3 more points than I would have had. But if Brighton scores, now I'm losing points.
Yeah.
But then if he scores, then anyway.
This is a perfect bridge, Dave, into the next thing that we were going to say, which is basically we want to talk about Mohamed Salah.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the grounds that several, I would say,
high profile,
some of the most prominent content creators,
correct.
So most of whom are beyond us in rank,
For sure.
and most of them who you've seen their names in the FPL community for quite some time, they've announced plans in some form to sell Mo Salah either indefinitely or perhaps overconfidently, permanently, starting this game week, or as assuming by going into game week 30, 31.
I'm shocked by this.
I will say, after the Champions League loss today, a couple of them, including Andy from Let's Talk FPL, who's a pretty I like that guy.
Okay.
So I want to talk about something he brought up about captaincy, but also he made the point of I'm less comfortable selling Salah with that loss. I didn't already, and he said I already hated the idea of doing it. There's no reason to rest him at any point with any other competitions to play for. True or false?
After this weekend, zero.
No, absolutely true.
They could still let other players play once the league is wrapped up.
Won't happen.
He's going for records.
But
yeah,
any confidence in that is much lower now that they're out of the Champions League.
I feel like that's a little bit of a cop-out answer.
Okay.
Mainly because that's stupidity in the first place. And I get they're saying, okay, well, I'm going to spend that money on Haaland and bring him in and not have Salah because their prices have gotten closer. Haaland's has shrunk. Salah's has grown so much.
Yeah, but you can get to Haaland by selling Palmer, which makes way more sense.
Sure.
Yes, I agree. And
Pro-
Salah is literally going to set a fantasy record this year of beating his prior record and scoring the most fantasy points ever. And so I just, as someone who is much less ranked than them, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Regardless. And I know your argument, we were talking about this earlier, and you're probably about to bring it up. One of your arguments was, well, he won't be a captaincy option because of the other doubles, because he won't have another double going out.
Yeah.
I do hear that. But still, man.
The matchups are so good.
But
You said that before. The matchups are so good during the potential double weeks.
I'm probably still not captaining him that week.
But he's
even
still
if you did, it's probably going to be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Cross FPL royalty at this point, he said the whole wild card template shifted. Salah stays in forever. 400 FPL points is on.
But why did it shift? Because they were going to prioritize Champions League because the Premier League was already wrapped up?
Well, I think
that's probably a factor that they didn't. Not that they were going to prioritize Champions League, but they could think harder about Champions League because the Premier League doesn't need as much attention.
That's fair.
Let's say
right?
today,
or maybe not that it's wrapped up, but it doesn't need.
No, it's wrapped up.
So let's say they somehow win the shootout, the penalty shootout today. Okay, say they did. Liverpool looked horrible by the end of the game. Trent injured.
It was it was not a good team
I would just
at that
say
point.
at least they were leggy.
Yeah.
Or at least they were not
everyone
nearly
but Salah.
right. And but I'm saying Trent goes off injured. Konate looks like he goes off injured.
Your back four includes Kwanzaa and Endo.
Right. But what I'm saying is like, congratulations on smashing Southampton 3-1 and made sure you played all of those guys for a lot of minutes against Southampton.
I don't think that had anything to do with it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that
could have rested them and then been. I don't think it would have mattered. I really don't think it would have mattered.
Okay, so
it was an intense game.
It
was a very intense game.
I mean, it just seems like they might have reconsidered the strategy of who plays and how long going into games, especially ahead of whatever the next Champions League.
I don't think Diaz got a ton of minutes in that, did he? I don't think he did.
Started.
I thought he looked pretty good today.
He looked really good today.
Yeah, he looked good today.
I was wondering if I can't remember how many minutes he played.
I know you hate him, but
I don't hate him.
Yes, Dave. The issue was captaincy and this is back to Andy. Let's talk about PL's point.
Snack on a cookie.
Please crunch into the microphone.
Thank you, Post Malone.
his contention was no Salah captaincy until game week 34 because in 29,
blank
decision made for you. Game week 30, Manchester City is home to Leicester. So
good matchup.
So by the way, game week 30 for Liverpool is Merseyside derby reverse fixture. You may remember what happened with Salah did in the away fixture there. It was 13 points, whatever.
Yeah,
so
but still.
So that one is still more like a toss-up.
It's a dangerous one, but I tell you, I think they are absolutely going to go for that match hard.
Right.
They're going to throw everything at that Merseyside derby.
So
everything.
Either way, but going into 30, that's still a place where it's as good of a matchup as you're going to get for Manchester City in a home game against one of the worst teams in the league, comparative to a Merseyside derby where
it'll be chippy too, so it'll be kind of tough. Yeah.
Game week 31, you have Newcastle is at Leicester. You have the possibility, depending on what Chelsea does, or Cole Palmer is away to Brentford, and in that game, Liverpool's at Fulham. So
that's a tough matchup. Yeah,
I would say in that week, it's advantage.
Probably Newcastle.
Advantage Newcastle, I think, but still, it's not crazy. Fulham's not that good, but they're certainly better than the other two. And then game week 31. Or game week 32, Newcastle has a double game week. So, regardless of who Liverpool's playing in game week 32, you'd probably back a Newcastle player who's playing twice, which means anybody that has Isak.
They're both at home too.
It
is United and Crystal Palace, which aren't great matchups, but they're home matchups. So yeah, right. I agree with that.
And then in game week 33. Manchester City double game week, and at that point, again, doesn't matter. Like game week 32, Liverpool's at West Ham. That's totally fine, assuming Isak is fit that week. It's not good enough. West Ham's playing better. It's not good enough of a fixture. I just think and also, by the way, game week 32, depending on what second place does, whoever is in second place, game week 32 is the earliest that Liverpool could have the title wrapped up.
Yeah, it won't happen. So one thing you have to also note,
can I break out one big stat?
Well, before you do, let me just point out also, if Liverpool are to wrap it up the way that everybody thinks they're going to, and they're going to take the foot off the gas, you also have to remember that there is going to be a big scramble for fourth between Newcastle City and Chelsea at the very least. There are plenty of other teams that could be in that mix.
And Arsenal,
I'm giving them third. I'm giving them third.
Arsenal can fall way down.
All right. All that to say, there's still going to be a scramble for fourth, and those three teams are going to be involved, and they're going to have a lot to play for. They're going to be motivated. So I absolutely think that Newcastle, City, and even to some extent Chelsea are probably not terrible targets down the stretch.
All right, Travis.
Stat.
How many games has Liverpool played this season?
20
in the Premier
29.
League. I think they've played 28. They've definitely played 29. Travis, Brian, how many games has Salah not given you a return in 29 games?
I'm guessing
2.
Probably 3.
I'm going to say 2.
The answer's 4.
4 games.
I don't give a flying flip who they're playing.
I almost
if he's playing
the duck out.
The C is going on Salah.
Okay.
It's boring. Last year it was Holland. It's boring. It's not this week because he's not playing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just it's
you sound like
15, 6, 14, 12, 8, 13, 16, 8. Oh, there's a 3 and a 2 against Brentford and Forest in 21 and 22. Then it's 7, 16, 9, 21, 5, 18, 13, 14, 9, 10, 12. It's insane. It doesn't matter who he plays.
Matt, is that you?
Doesn't matter who he plays.
It matters.
No, I'm just giving fantasy respect where respect is due.
It matters a little bit who he plays.
Brentford and Forest seem to, But other than
but
those
I'm saying
two,
I'm saying that even in games, against Southampton, this is what I'm saying. Like,
I know, but he still got it.
but
Even though he shouldn't have got it, his XG was probably .01.
You can't count it against him that he's on penalties.
No, and I'm saying that this season, I mean, this is a content creator thing too. I think at this point, just to say, build your team of penalty takers. Make all 5 midfielders and all 3 forwards pick the penalty taker for whatever team. If you're picking the player from that team, So it's the reason why you go for Bumo, you go for
Palmer, Salah.
Palmer, Salah,
Saka when he's healthy.
Bruno Fernandes, Saka if he's healthy, like Jared Bowen while Paqueta's out, or whoever.
Yeah.
Or Eze if you're going to pick the Palace player or whatever. And then your front line, same idea. I understand that. I'm just saying, like, there are double game weeks left. And I just don't think in double game weeks I just feel like you're going to look at Liverpool at West Ham in game week 32, and you're going to have to make the conscious decision. I'm going to back against someone the quality of Alexander Isak, who's playing 2 games, and not 2 games against top defenses, 2 games. It's just the
Isak's got 2 home games in 32. Home to United, home to Palace.
Right.
I don't think either game's a pushover. And then they're going to have another double in 34? It's not listed yet, which is unfortunate.
It's only possible. Nothing. That's what I'm saying. Nothing. You're not going to know the final, like, the determination on any of these things until, you only have the possibility. You have the likelihood. This is Ben Carlin time, everybody. Aston Villa and Manchester City are the 2 likeliest double game week teams in game week 33.
Okay.
Double game week 32 is definitely Crystal Palace. It is definitely Newcastle,
which is already in the
so those
system.
are already there. Game week 33, it's a likelihood for Villa and Manchester City, and as it stands right now, there's a possibility for as many as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other teams. So you won't know how that's going to shake out until you get these other results. And then there's the possibility for 1 million teams to blank.
I think
or
it's a
the
good
likelihood
possibility,
of
though.
teams to blank in game week 34. So then you're back on that kind of problem where you have, that might be, if you have a free hit remaining, depending on how many teams are blanking in 34, that's a possibility. And then game week 35, there's a chance. Game week 36, there's a chance. But, you're not going to get any of this information for at least 2 more game weeks.
Yeah.
Or like we said,
Right.
Start of game week 30 or just after the deadline of game week 30. So that's why I'm saying, like, I just think as much as you don't want it to be, Newcastle is still home against Manchester United, who, good or bad, they've been not just bad, they've been awful. So maybe they figure something out.
Arsenal, they're pretty good.
Right. They were pretty good against you guys. You're not doing anything. It's not like you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to go totally rogue and I'm going to captain Mateta at Manchester City at Newcastle for Crystal Palace, even though, we know that Crystal Palace has been great in away games this season. Like that's established under Glasner. So
you are the Glasner. You're the Glasner guy.
That's not my original thought. I wish it was me.
He is the Glasner guy.
Glasner guy.
You're a real Glasner half full.
Yeah, Glasner half full. That's a good.
There we go.
There's your team name for next year.
That's the title.
So
Glasner half full.
No, so I'm just saying I am not like as it stands. I'm not advocating selling. Like I am not saying.
Are you selling Salah
this week? No. Game week 30. I just said he scored at least 13 in the previous Merseyside derby. Like
right.
He was one of the best players that there was. So I can't imagine it's going to be. He can easily duplicate that in the home fixture. Like I would do exactly what you said. I would find some other way of facilitating that move.
Yeah. If you want Haaland,
right?
Is this the only reason why guys are selling him because they want to bring Haaland in for the doubles?
I have 4
Haaland who hasn't hardly done anything over the last.
So I was gonna say, since the start of the new year, Erling Haaland has 55 points. So he's played 8 games. He didn't play against Liverpool, so he's one less game than other forwards.
He's a chicken.
40.
He's got to return, and that's wild.
55 points or 54 points in 8 games. So he's right around. I mean, that's almost 7 a game. The issue, like we said, is you know it just as well as anybody else does. Like Chris Wood has averaged basically 7 points a game for $7 less.
Right. Yeah.
Mateta has averaged 8 points a game for $7 less. So like that is the issue. And then if you're gonna have Isak, I just think it's.
But all these pundits are like, well, we gotta bring in Holland and play him in the doubles and sell Salah.
Is that
what's going on?
I am just telling you that is the fastest way to facilitate it, and I think the feeling is Cole Palmer's not going to stay on this ridiculous, impossibly cold streak.
Understood.
For that long. He's not going to stay on 0. Like he's not going to have 0 returns the way he has.
Right.
Like it can't. Whether it's a confidence thing.
How long do you wait? How long do you wait?
This podcast is usually 3, but I'm giving him a little bit more slack probably than I should.
Like
because I guess his price has dropped a lot. He started at 10.5 and worked his way up to 11.4, and now he's back to 11. And I don't know, man. He's had 4 weeks. And with the last 2 games, you would have sworn against Southampton and Leicester that he was going to get something, and he didn't. So, I'm sure he'll get something against Arsenal this week. That's how I
hope so.
That's how my world works.
Yeah, it would be fantastic if he did.
Thank you, Brian.
No, I'm not. I am not on the side of any pundit who is saying you certainly must sell Salah. Clearly, you can cover Salah with Phil Foden if that facilitates a move from, say, like, Isak to Holland or whatever, or Ollie Watkins to Holland. Like, I'm not saying that at all. But, like, I'm saying I think the captaincy question is a good question. I think you really would consider it because against Spurs, it's a Holland brace. So if you're talking about a Holland brace, it ends up being a goal ruled out. He ends up scoring just 1. So it's back to probably not worth it again as the end result of that.
Yeah.
But poor form against Nottingham Forest, nobody seemed to be able to do anything, and they end up, you not only they don't score, they
don't win.
Yeah, they get shut out and you lose the game 1-0.
So your point, or the point that you were sharing about the captaincy, makes sense. Dave said something off of the pod before we got started that is an excellent point. At no point is Mo Salah taking his foot off the gas. Even if the title's wrapped up and they've already lifted the trophy, he's still going to play as much as possible and score as much as possible.
And assist as much as
because
possible.
he is in the business of setting records. And
he's got a chance to break Henry's assist record.
He can do a lot of things.
Yeah, what is it? What's he on? 40 goal involvements total or something like that?
He's probably going to break that record too if he continues.
Right. Yeah, he's on pace to do a lot of demolishing of records, and he is very aware of that. Very aware of that. I don't see him taking the foot off the gas. So to Dave's point, yes, he has a history. Yes, he's only had 4 game weeks where he is, not shown up for you. I think that continues. I don't foresee that being a beach trip.
Who would be a crazy captain in game week 31?
Cole Palmer.
Liverpool at Fulham that week, like we said. Cunha would be back from suspension coming into that game week, and Wolves.
Do you think he's in the gym pumping iron?
Wolves are at Ipswich that week. So I don't think that's an entirely crazy.
Interesting.
It's funny because I had just pulled up Cunha to see when he was coming back, and I noticed that as well. But I was thinking,
think how angry he's going to be. Oh man, he'll just want to take out all of his kicking aggression on that ball.
He's gonna need to score some goals so Arsenal will come with the right amount next time.
Travis, you have Bumo this week?
I do.
Team?
I do.
I do not, and it scares me. I was just looking through.
At Bournemouth, this shouldn't be scary.
But I was just looking through Brentford's. Brentford surprisingly has 12 losses this season, which seems like a lot for where their place is in the table, right? You're pointing because I'm skipping
No,
around.
I'm pointing.
Well,
no,
no, we're
I was
just
just going
about
to
to talk
say,
about
I was
something.
going to just move on to Nottingham Forest
All
just because I think that.
Let's do that.
I think this podcast final evaluation of Mo Salah is, I don't really see why.
I'm not selling him.
Don't do it to facilitate a Holland. Get rid of Palmer if you have
if
to.
it is a
Yeah.
straightforward decision
Yeah.
of you're selling
Agree.
Salah for the purpose of getting Holland and you're going to figure it out that way, it doesn't seem like it's worth it. If you can find another way to do it.
And very few people will have recently purchased Salah, so selling him will probably be a 3, 4, 5.
It's just if you want to buy him back,
8.
He's 13.8
Right.
right
Yeah,
now.
it would be.
You
I've
bought
got-
him for 12.5.
Yeah,
I've got $4
well,
in the
no,
bank,
but
Shorty, what you drank?
and I've got Trent. So a Trent move.
you got to move Trent.
I was
You
gonna
got
say,
to
but
move
I'm saying a
Konate.
Trent. I'm saying a Trent
Not
move.
now, but just do it because it's going to happen.
Trent down to someone 4 or 5, which there are options.
Now
There
that
are
gets
cheap
you a
options.
lot more money.
Right, that's $3. I mean, I can come
Yeah.
up with $7
Yeah.
fairly quickly. So that's the kind of thing now
That's
that
now
not hard.
Holland is not that far away.
What's
That's
this,
a Watkins to Holland move.
Trent. Do you know what Trent's selection percentage is?
20 something.
No,
What? 60 something.
no, not
40,
high.
right? 42.
32 and a half.
32 and a half. I don't
High.
own him. I haven't owned him all season.
I know. I can understand why you don't want the number 1 scoring defender. I can see why you don't want the guy who's number 1 is scoring. No, there's been ways around it. There's been ways around it. What I want to say about Nottingham Forest, you and I talked about the defenders last week. I want to talk about the defenders again, but before we talk about the defenders again, I want to talk about the midfielders just because if you have the room going into blank game week 29,
Which I don't.
if you have the room for a Nottingham Forest player,
I don't.
surely you have to be thinking of bringing in one of the midfielders. You have Sells?
I have Sells, Ina, and Wood.
Right. You have
Sells
Sells.
Milinkovic and Wood.
and I have Sells, Nico Williams, and Wood. I cannot make a midfielder happen, but if I could, I would.
Okay.
They're playing this week in probably the best possible matchup, one of the best possible matchups. Like we talked about last week, Nottingham Forest have one of the best remaining schedules for the season, not just for the foreseeable future, but for the rest of the season.
They're definitely finishing in third or second.
And they are already a top team who will surely be fighting for as high up in the table as they can possibly get.
It's a big deal for them. Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
So your choices are Morgan Gibbs White, 6.5% or $6.50, 6.8% selection as we sit here, or at least as it was a little bit ago. Anthony Alanga, $5.3 and 5.7% selected, and Callum Hudson-Odoi at $5.2.
So
1.7%.
Before you dig into the details of that, talk me out of Sells, Wood, and a defender. Why am I moving out of one of those areas and into midfield?
You are
No,
not.
He's not. He's
Right.
saying if you don't have
I'm saying-
3 Forest players already.
I'm
But
saying,
but what I'm saying is, and I know this is a whole segment, so I don't mean to blow up your world. We should have
go
talked
ahead.
about this earlier, but why would I go with a midfielder rather than one of those? Right? If I have the ability to buy Nottingham Forest, why would I not go with Sells, Wood, and a defender?
If I could
Why am I
really
going Sells, Wood, and a midfielder? Is I guess what we would say to do.
or if you're going to say I don't want to spend on Sells and I'm going to go for Dean Henderson
Okay.
as my goalkeeper,
Okay.
and I've already got Rhea, I've got Pickford, I've got a goalkeeper that I'm satisfied with, and I'm not getting rid of my goalkeeper to go to Matt Sells.
Who's ever satisfied with their goalkeeper?
I think Matt Sells owners are
PSG's probably satisfied with their goalkeeper.
true.
Sorry,
No, it's
Travis.
just that-
Sorry, low blow.
It's just that so.
Oh man, what a jerk! I'm a jerk.
It's not like it just happened.
I know. Oh, I know.
So right now, your highest selected goalkeepers are Rhea, Pickford, and now that Sells has done as much as he has recently, Sells is now your third most selected goalkeeper.
Mm.
So that's
He's
what I'm
also the
saying.
cheapest out of those, by the way. Just
Right.
saying.
So Fabianski was there. Dean Henderson at 12.7. He rounds out your top 5 selection for goalkeeper.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying, if you're saying, like, you know what, I need to buy a goalkeeper, or I already had one or whatever.
Or you're happy with your defense.
And I don't want to spend 5 to get Sells.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for one of these other guys. That's why. So
Okay.
I think, but yes, I understand what you're saying. I would probably.
Or you move on from Wood to Cunha.
Right. If you want to back against Chris Wood going into this week or whatever and say, I'm going to try one of these other guys, yeah, I understand that. Recency bias for the midfielders, though, is on Callum Hudson-Odoi.
So
Yeah.
that's where I would go. Even though Gibbs White has been a little bit more consistent,
Much more
since
consistent.
Odoi has been back from injury, he had an appearance
Yeah.
in match week 25.
Last
but the
3
last
weeks.
3 weeks,
Yep.
it's 8-3-1. And he's been,
8-3-10.
yes, thank you,
Yep.
8-3-10.
Yep.
And he's been electric.
For sure. Honestly, the season numbers, they're really close. So even Callum Hudson-Odoi he's missed games, and even with that, he's on 92 points for the season. Elanga on 102, Gibbs White on 113. So even for the season, those
wild.
guys are really close. And then when you start looking over the goals and assists, they're still pretty close.
I'm just not spending that money for Gibbs White.
Right. The minutes are wildly in favor of Gibbs White, but he hasn't missed much time at all. Shots, actually, I was surprised to see that Gibbs White is 10 ahead of Callum Hudson-Odoi. It's 43 Gibbs White, 33 Callum, 31 for Elanga. And Gibbs White is kind of the main guy for shots on target, shots
For
in
literally
the box,
everything.
basically all of the shots things, which is surprising. I would have expected one of the other. I would have expected one of the other two. Yeah. Big chances actually go way in Elanga's favor, though. So on the season,
he's the breakaway guy.
Elanga's 8 big chances, Gibbs White 3, Hudson-Odoi just 1 for the entire season, which I was a little also surprising. Elanga leads and touches in the box. Elanga had the highest XG of the 3 of them, all of them non-penalty XG, obviously. And Elanga and Gibbs White significantly ahead of Callum Hudson-Odoi for the season. And then Gibbs there. So the place where I was most surprised, though, is that Elanga has created the most chances of the 3 of them. It's 39
Even
Elanga.
though he's like blanked in the last 4 match weeks.
39 Elanga, 38 Gibbs White, 37 Callum Hudson-Odoi. They are almost exactly even for chances created. And Elanga's connection, though, with Chris Wood is extremely good. So Chris Wood likely, if he's going to score, it has been most likely to have come from Elanga.
Elanga's given 1 return in the last 7 match weeks.
For sure.
Should that be a concern?
So I wondered about that too, Dave, now that you're saying that. And really, yeah. So in the last, because I just said even in the last 3, just take the last 3 games. That was one of the things I was kind of like, why is Elanga?
But the last 3 games are kind of tougher.
Right, but Elanga, that's the thing. Like, they've all played similar minutes. Elanga has only 8 points, and Callum Hudson-Odoi is, it's 21. So it's 2 goals will get that for you. But Morgan Gibbs White, most shots. Hudson-Odoi, the most shots on target. The only person with a big chance in the last 3 weeks, credited with a big chance, the only person credited with a big chance is Elanga. The other 2, 0 big chances.
Interesting.
Gibbs White, most touches in the box in the last 3 weeks. Elanga, 0.6 XG. Callum Hudson-Odoi, 0.66 XG. Gibbs White, 0.39.
Thought you were going to say 0.666.
And then Elanga, the most chances created of the 3 of them. So I'm not really sure. To me, that's why I said recency bias is going to make you go straight to Callum Hudson-Odoi because he's had the best 3 games in the last 3. It's been
right.
He's been best. I just don't think by numbers, I don't think there's a lot. Like they're all right there, and I feel like we were here at some point earlier in the season where you could have gone for one of these guys too, and I think it was like any of them can get something. It felt like a little bit like if Spurs midfielders were good, You know what I mean? Or like if they were more reliable, where like any week it was like, well, Brennan Johnson scored, then Son has 2 assists, then Kulishevsky, and now James Madison's fit again, and he scored this week or whatever, and it could be anybody getting the returns in a given week. It feels like that with these guys, and I don't know. What's Leicester going to do against them? For what it's worth, in the last 3 game weeks, Morgan Gibbs-White and Callum Hudson-Odoi have each put in 10 crosses, 3 successful crosses for each of them. Elanga has 15 crosses, 7 successful crosses.
I mean,
I'm not saying like...
No, I hear you.
I don't know that you could pick wrong.
Good stats.
I think the money of it, like depending on what you wanted to do.
I definitely wouldn't be doing Gibbs-White. He's a pound dollar.
I think, and that's yes. I think that's the minimum. Is that I think on the super differential Hudson-Odoi at 1.7%. That's not going to be real numbers. I don't think for buying next week, but it's still low.
Yeah,
huge differential. And then Elanga even at 5.7%. I mean, and that they're only a tenth. It's a tenth between them.
I'm still not sold.
I might flip a coin between Elanga and Hudson-Odoi if it were me. But I think it has more to do with like if you are replacing Morgan Rogers, finding somebody to replace, then it's even money. You are swapping out fair. 1 for 1 for a team that is crushing everybody right now, and that is a long-term hold at a low dollar amount. So, are you satisfied with that?
I'm satisfied that you think it's a reasonable conversation to have.
Who's
if I could right now?
Who's bringing him in?
If I could willy-nilly,
Gibbs-White's your 3rd most transferred in for midfielders.
Right. If I could willy-nilly make a transfer and it not cost me anything, I would easily bring in either Elanga or Hudson-Odoi this week. I would use. Instead of having sells Milenkovic, I would easily just sell Milenkovic and bring in a midfielder if I didn't have to jump through a bunch of hoops.
Hudson-Odoi 6th most transferred in for midfielders.
I get it.
Elanga not even. I mean, you have.
I see your point.
You have to scroll down.
You're saying Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi, and they're not doing any. I'm telling you, people are looking at his last 6 out of 7 games.
Elanga at 11th for midfielder.
It wouldn't surprise me if Elanga gets something this weekend, especially based on all the good stats that you gave.
It's Ipswich.
Even though in the last 6 out of 7 match weeks he hasn't returned.
Which they've
done before.
Then it'll be great that I have Chris Wood.
Right.
Last time they scored like 7 goals, like Wood didn't get any. You remember that? That's so ridiculous.
Well, it'll be great that I have Chris Wood.
Yeah, for sure. I like that because I didn't have Chris Wood.
Oh my gosh.
I want to do this a Nottingham Forest defender reminder. I don't care how we have to go over this again. I don't care. Ola Aina.
You love Ola Aina. You think it makes so much sense bringing him in. Ola Aina is your
Ola Aina is better.
Your fixture difficulty color rating.
Let's just
spirit animal.
Let's just put it out here because I think we can all agree Ola Aina is a better defender than Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think that's obvious. He's obviously better.
Ryan has the I love Ola Aina t-shirt.
Recency bias is going to drive you to Murillo, who $4.7, 3.5% selected because he was the one to get bonus points last week. Murillo went for an 8.
All of the other Murillo.
They all went for 6s. Murillo goes for 8.
I think Murillo would win the award for being the most unfit looking Premier League player.
No, Luke Shaw all day.
Luke Shaw hasn't played in the Premier League this season. If he has, it's extremely minimal.
Yes.
Murillo,
he's a chunky monkey.
Murillo doesn't miss many hamburgers and doesn't miss many tacos, and he runs out there and just flat crushes.
Easy.
Like he's done fantastic. I mean, he's a starting center back in a 3rd place team in the Premier League. Who knows? They might end up 2nd, and they shut out City. and he put Holland in his back pocket. So whatever Murillo's doing, in no way am I talking any trash, only giving him some love. And also the fact that he has the talent to do that, not having a, in quotes, fit Premier League shape.
Dave.
Most guys in the Premier League, when they pull their shirts up to wipe their face, like they're shredded underneath their shirts, right?
All I'm hearing is that
not Murillo, baby.
You're like
not
checking
Murillo.
Guys out. Whatevs, man.
Some people bring six packs.
I worry about how they play.
Some people bring kegs.
Not how they look.
I'm not interested in
Murillo brings the kegs
in their body shape.
All right. Whatever.
How do they play? Dave, here's what we talked about last week.
Okay.
You don't have to go deep into this. Nico Williams has started every game for Nottingham Forest at his position since game week 15.
Ooh, okay.
Since game week 15. We talked about this last week. Since game week 15, your number one scoring Nottingham Forest defender since game week 15,
Nico Williams.
Ina.
Milenkovic. Since game week 15, Milenkovic 66 points.
Okay.
Ola Aina 64 points. Nico Williams 63 points.
Okay,
so
we're
splitting
hairs.
Milenkovic.
Murillo missed one game.
Who's the cheapest? Is what
Murillo missed one game.
This guy.
So he played 13 games. The other guys played 14. Murillo was on 49 points. So a 14-point gap between him and Nico Williams.
Okay.
The point last week was people, first of all, I don't understand why people were last week. We said Ina was the third most transferred out. That is one of the most senseless. Like I don't understand what anyone is doing, why that happened. Those are AI managed teams or something. I have no idea.
I need to get one of those.
This week, Ina's the number one transfer in. So third most transferred out last week.
Talk about whiplash.
If you transferred him out, you're furious because you transferred out the clean sheet. Then you're probably, if you did it, you're knee-jerking someone back in probably because they have a great fixture. I don't know. I don't know who's thinking that way. Somebody did. The point is, Milenkovic is 4.8. Ina is 5.3. Nico Williams is 4.4. Murillo is 4.7. Yeah. So minimum, you're 0.5 less than Ina if you're buying right this second. And I'm telling you, since Nico Williams started playing for them, Milenkovic is your number one scorer on the defense. And he's only 1 point. He's 2 points better than Ina, and he's only 3 points better than Nico Williams. And Nico Williams is 4.4. Like, I don't understand.
Right.
Like, looking at it, I'm looking at it and I'm like,
that's why you have so much money in your bank, Brian.
What do you do? I'm just saying, what are you doing? Then let's just talk calendar year. Who's your number one scoring Nottingham Forest defender in 2025?
Probably. I feel like the question begs the answer. Nico
Murillo.
Williams.
It's Nico Williams.
Yeah.
In 2025, Nico Williams, 38 points in the 9 games so far in the calendar year. Murillo, second with 33. Ina and Milenkovic, 32 each. Everyone's played 9 games. Nico, 38. Murillo, 33. The other 2 guys, 32.
So you're saying buy Alanga.
I'm saying, back to what we were saying about the midfielders. So anyway, Milenkovic has the most minutes. So Milenkovic is the
You're not selling me on Williams.
The safest at 810 minutes, but they've all played. Like, none of them have, like, it's only short substitutions. So nobody's getting subbed out at 59 minutes or something, or at half. Nico Williams, most shots of all the Nottingham Forest defenders with 8. Milenkovic has taken 6 shots since in the start of this calendar year. So since the beginning of the year. Murillo has taken 5 shots in 9 games. Ola Ina, very much on brand for his season, has attempted 1 shot on a 0.04 xG.
Whoa!
He scored 1 goal.
No, he scored 0 goals. He scored 2 goals this season. 30 of Ina's points are from the games where he scored a goal.
Yeah.
So the 2 games he had 2 Cucurella games, a 15 and a 15
well said.
In those 2 games. So that's why I'm like, I genuinely don't understand. Like
He's
saw,
gonna go wild again, just like the last time you
oh my
ranted
gosh,
on
he's
him.
He's gonna have a brace. It's nearly certain.
He's gonna get a double clean sheet.
He's going for 5. It's gonna be somehow he'll be the first FPL player in history to get 5 bonus points. His name will be on there twice or whatever. Sorry, we can't change it now. No, I just want to say
The same thing you've been saying all season, which
I don't
is
understand
pick
that.
someone else.
I get it. Brian, you make a great case.
I don't understand it.
You make a great case.
We're never gonna listen to you.
I was sad to have buried Nico.
You're
Williams.
mad when we sell Ina.
You
You're
did
mad
bury
when
him.
we buy
You
him.
did bury him.
It doesn't matter what we do. You're just going to be
sad.
angry.
This past weekend, I think I already said it. I buried Sells. I didn't bury them, but Sells and Milinkovic. Milinkovic was in my first bench spot, but I benched him and Sells and lost out on all their points against City, and that was brutal because I needed them this week.
So anyway,
all right, Travis. Moving on to the masses.
Well, he's been talking about the masses like crazy.
What do they say? I know.
yeah, idiots.
They say buy Ina.
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
what we're doing. Buy.
All right.
What's his face?
If
Sells
Gibbs White.
Sells is the number 1 goalkeeper in.
You're really going.
Sells is the number
Are you
1
okay?
goalkeeper in.
just going
Do you
for
need to get something off your chest?
going for some cookies.
I think this is because of Liverpool losing in the Champions League.
It's really got him upset.
Understandable that Sells is the number 1 goalkeeper, and Jose Saw the number 2 transfer in for goalkeepers. Do you know why?
Huh.
You know why.
No, I don't.
Yes,
I don't
you
know
do.
why.
What's this podcast about?
I know.
It's
It's about Southampton.
No, it's about the
It's about green fixtures.
It's about the green matchups.
Oh, baby. Look at all that green.
I tell you what,
Brian.
West Ham at home is super green.
Look at all that green.
I don't understand.
Playing Southampton and Ipswich is pretty
Wolves
green.
is absolutely a team to target for your offense. If they're playing Wolves, it is a green matchup. So I don't.
They don't have Willy Bolly anymore. They're not going to stop you from scoring.
Matt Doherty is not on the team anymore. Why is he?
I think
Doherty, he went to Spurs and then he came back.
He came back.
He's back.
I understand the other transfers. Dean Henderson, I think, makes a little bit of sense just for after if you're playing long term, I can understand why you'd be bringing him in if you're making a move, just kind of thinking ahead, whatever. Ola Aina, again, number 1 defensive transfer in because, of course, he is. Kirkez, number 2. Back-to-back assists for Kirkez.
Yeah.
Kirkus has been good all season.
4 points in each of the last 2 games only with the assists because Bournemouth has been shaky defensively.
They have not been holding any clean sheets.
And, shocker, despite the color coding, the teams that they ended up facing were better than the color.
Interesting.
But if you're going to buy a defender for at least a few weeks, the next 3 for Bournemouth.
Pretty good.
Yeah, home Brentford, home Ipswich, at West Ham. That's decent enough to go after. Kirkez is great. Is Liverpool signing him?
Who knows at this point?
Who cares, right?
Who knows? Honestly, their transfers are going to depend on the 3 contract rebels. If they wrap them up, then that is going to severely limit the funds that they have to pay in order to keep their wage bill down. So, yeah, who knows? It's not important right now. What's important is wrapping up the Premier League.
Clearly, Ryan Aït-Nouri, same rationale as Jose Saw. Unexpected numbers for me for Ryan Aït-Nouri. In 2025, same thing, 9 games, 4 shots.
In 2025?
Yeah, so since the
4 shots? Oh,
he's taken 4 total shots.
Not great.
No, it's not even on the list.
Well,
Trent's taken 20.
He's a defender.
Yeah, but Trent's taken 20. Do you hear what I'm saying?
That's not really
what you're
like
saying.
that's like apples and oranges though.
No, but I'm saying
Aït-Nouri is pretty front footed, but
I'm saying 20 is your top shooter for defenders, and then it's like still double digits is like the second most. You know what I mean? So I'm saying like
yeah.
Like if you were to say 10 and then you're like, well, someone else has 9, it's going to be a while if you know how numbers work. till you get down to 4. Do you
Please
understand?
explain to us how numbers work.
I'm just saying. Do you understand where I'm
Sequential.
right? Down.
Sometimes.
Just think of it as a ladder, and if there are 10 rungs on the ladder, just how far you have to go down until there's only 4.
You went to a different place there.
20 touches in the opposition box in 9 games for Ryan Aitnori.
So why isn't he shooting more?
Which is the 6th highest total for defenders, and that I think is the question: is what the heck?
He's there. What's he doing?
He's still right.
Okay.
I think what's possible is Wolves are terrible, but they're not as terrible as the bottom 3. So I just think you can get something from him because he's up forward. But while Cunha's out, it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
I hear you, Brian.
I understand why people. I mean, I'm not saying like it's crazy to go for him. I'm just as you're looking through it and just like I get why everyone is.
All right.
Munoz number 5 most transferred, and I skipped over Gvardiol because I feel like that's if I thought about going to him last week. I thought about making him one of my transfers last week, and I decided not to. And I
glad you didn't.
Well, yeah,
I would only do it because they're going into a couple.
But you don't have to do it this week, I guess.
No, not this week. Only because they got some doubles coming up, and honestly, I don't know who else to go get for City.
Do you want to?
If people are loading up on like 3
Maybe
City
not
players for the
City.
doubles,
Lots of people are loading up on that.
I get it, but like,
Weird.
Have you seen the free hit? The free hit screenshots.
Congratulations, you're gonna get 6 points.
Have you seen the wild card screenshots of all the people putting their teams on social media? It's like Gvardiol, Foden, Holland. You get it's a little
trifecta
slash there. Are they getting scored on? Is Brighton scoring on them?
Yes.
Is Leicester?
It's going to be Danny Welbeck.
Brighton has won 4 in a row.
Is Leicester scoring on them?
No. Leicester's not scoring on anyone. No, Leicester's not scoring on anyone.
So game week 30, everybody's going to get Gvardiol's clean sheet. They're at Manchester United, Manchester Derby, game week 31.
That'd be
Is
interesting.
United scoring on him?
Probably.
No.
Probably.
No.
Yeah. Corner kick, Maguire. Yes.
They're home to Crystal
Scott
Palace.
McTominay might score.
He doesn't play for them.
Exactly.
Crystal Palace in 32. Palace
Probably,
Palace
yeah.
definitely scoring on him. Then they're at Everton in 33. Beto's scoring in that game 100%. Dwight McNeil's coming back and scoring in that game.
I could go either way on that one.
I don't think so.
They're home against Villa in game week 33. Villa is definitely scoring.
I agree.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
So in the next between 29 and 34, you can feel confident about a clean sheet, confident enough about a clean sheet against Leicester in game week 30
And maybe.
and Everton in game week 33. Like all you're counting on is Gvardiol to get back to being like that
offensive guy,
forward attacking defender
and,
that
and he
has
can
been.
do it. And I've seen him.
He just hasn't been doing it for as much for a while.
Yeah.
He's just not quite as attacking. His same thing with shots for him, just not a ton.
I mean, it's got to be due to center backs that are rotating through due to injuries, right? So he was dealing with Ake, Akanji, Stones. Right. Diaz is playing a little bit. So, I think that's got to be, and then the new guy. So he's probably covering a lot more than he was early season.
Similar
right?
to Ryan Aitnori in the new year, Gvardiol 6 shots. So
where's that on the ladder?
So think of it this way: there's a 20 rung ladder, and at the top, tippy top, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. And then 10
6 shots,
below,
we got it. 6 shots. It's not great. What's Munoz shots at?
I think he's at 10.
Really? All right. So yeah, bottom line is though, I mean, Gvardiol's got like way more goals than all those guys, right?
It goes Trent 20.
Well, goals though. I'm saying
Porro and LaCroix.
Lacroix.
He's a LaCroix boy, but he's a Lacroix. 10 shots each. Munoz at 8. Cucurella actually on 9. So I'm just saying it's
Interesting.
I think you're exactly right. He's got more defensive responsibility, and also Manchester City sucks.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Strong word.
So
It's not great.
no, it's not.
The fact that they're in the mix still is saying a lot because they are struggling tremendously.
I just I don't know if this is a casual thing. I don't know if it's the name value. It's Manchester City or whatever. But you see a home game for Manchester City and they're playing against Brighton. I don't know why. I don't what mindset do you have to be in to where you're like, that's good.
Last time they played Brighton, they lost 2-1.
Right, I just don't think it's. I just what clean sheet
That
are they
started
doing?
their losing streak. That's not true. It was second.
Milankovic
Bournemouth started their losing streak.
Up there.
Well,
right.
last time they played them, they lost 2-1, but the 2 times before that, they beat them.
Who cares about those?
This is what I'm talking about.
4-0,
If you just leave
2-1.
the screen as is and do transfers in for all positions, and I don't know how big the screen is that you're looking at, but mine goes Aina,
big.
Kirkez, Gvardiol, Aït-Nouri, Munoz, Milankovic. So you have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get to the next Nottingham Forest defender.
And that's ridiculous, Brian.
What are you doing?
Nico Williams should be the highest.
Kukurea after Milankovic. Fine. Is Arsenal scoring against Chelsea?
I don't have confidence we score against anyone anymore.
Is Kukurea scoring against you?
No, hell no.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. He's gone back-to-back 15s
And
in very obviously good matchups.
Not getting 15 again.
All right. And then
he might get a clean sheet, but he's not getting 15.
Dave, Gabriel, he's after Kukurea, so he's the 8th most transferred in.
He's up there too on points.
Oh man,
why are people doing that? I'd be buying Timber.
I don't own it.
Wouldn't you
I
buy
don't
Timber before you'd buy Gabriel?
It's just because of the total points count.
I'm just not.
That's all it is.
I don't own an Arsenal player. I haven't for a while.
Everyone's living in Arsenal's set piece threat from 10.
And we haven't
that's
scored
over now.
one since like match
Yeah.
week 15.
Right, that's what
They're
I'm
going to
saying.
come up with something wild, and it's going to start working again.
Oh,
Yeah, they're going to do it.
it's probably because Saka hasn't been making some of the deliveries.
Aaron
You
Wan-Bissaka.
got some good delivery.
Wan-Bissaka rounds out the chunk that's available easily.
Who?
Aaron Wan-Bissaka from West Ham United. You've heard of West Ham?
Vaguely.
4.5. That to me makes more sense.
I agree.
That is an understandable, not just for
And that's a team on the ascendancy as well. He is a
They
key
did
piece
lose
of that.
1-0 this week to Newcastle.
I think that's
That's a result for them.
admirable, isn't it?
That's absolutely
it's
a
at
result for
home.
them.
So what?
They should have done
Oh,
more.
Antonio was back. You'd think that should have.
They
Was
should-
he?
Yeah. Well, Antonio
He didn't
was.
start.
Antonio walked into the building. I just think that you'd feel like the lift of. It's like when Ryan Shazier walked on the stage. for the
Yes,
Steelers.
Brian. Good call there.
He was in.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Ryan, it's not.
It's
It's not a
NFL.
Steelers podcast.
Yeah, it's not a Steelers podcast.
But I think they're at Everton. You're at Wolves in game week 30. Again, people buying, thinking like, "Whoa, West Ham green." I just think that's better for. This is good for West Ham, if not better
Yeah.
than it is for Wolves the
Agreed.
other way. And home to Bournemouth. I just think it's 4.5 for a guy who's been more attacking than anyone expected, and he's been solid.
All right.
Midfielders, Bruno,
He's the worst.
Despite your protestations, number one transfer in for midfielders by quite a margin, over 100,000 compared to Kluivert. Kluivert number 2, Gibbs White
Take
3.
Kluivert over Fernandez any day.
You still have Jared Bowen? That's a good one. Why don't you guys bet on that?
I have Jared Bowen.
Yeah, but why don't you take the bet in game week 29? Who scores more points, Justin Kluivert or Bruno Fernandes? You take Bruno Fernandes, you take Justin Kluivert. Put it on the board. Write it down on our list.
I would take Bruno in that. I would take Bruno versus Kluivert in that matchup.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He said he'd take Kluivert any day.
I don't like that. Leicester sucks.
All right.
I would probably
take Bruno in that one.
Jared Bowen
the issue
over
for me, though,
Kluivert.
But the issue for me isn't 29. 29 is fine for Fernandez. The issue is 30, 31, and 32 are Forest, City, and Newcastle. City isn't great, you're right, but it's a freaking Manchester derby. They always play out of their freaking minds then. Like, they're going to get... like
United does, not City.
Everybody does.
City doesn't kill them.
Everybody does.
City has never killed them.
It's always heated and wild, and it's an interesting game, right?
Well, Scott McTominay is not on the pitch anymore.
No. Fernandez from 30 to 32 is what I'm worried about, and I don't understand why you're buying him for 1 game week.
I think what I'll do, I'll wait through this week, and then I'm going to sell Bruno to get Son and go crazy.
Go wild.
That's crazy.
Let's move into night moves here. Let's move into
but that's what I'm saying. You got Bowen, you got Mbumo, you got Hudson-Odoi, Son, Semenyo, and Matoma. That's your top. That's like your top 10 midfielder transfers in for the game week. It makes sense to me.
Why does Son make sense?
Son makes sense because they're playing.
Yeah.
And he scored a goal. He's gone 10-3, 8-1-6 in the last 5 games.
10-3, 8-1-6. That's actually pretty good.
It's
goal, better than I would have thought.
1 goal and 4 assists. And by the way, he scored the penalty, so we now know
who's on penalties.
We don't have to worry about anyone taking Sonny's penalties.
Okay.
So it depends on how you see.
That's interesting. Though. I would never thought of him. That's
he's expensive though.
Their form is weird. They're awful.
Yeah.
They've been awful. So their form is.
They're having a good year. They're 13th in the table.
You're so. St. Totteringham's Day came early for you this year.
It happened at Christmas, probably. I mean, I don't know.
They're at Fulham this week. I just don't think. I don't know. Whatever, Fulham. They're at Chelsea the week after that. I don't think that matters either. And then they're home to Southampton and at Wolves. So the next 4 game weeks, I'd say it's
fine.
It's fine.
Fine.
In fact, extremely useful once you get past Chelsea.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, at least for the 2 game weeks. Then they got to play Forest, Liverpool, and then West Ham at West Ham.
Could be a Liverpool team.
You have
who's already wrapped up the title.
So forwards, the one thing with forwards that matters the most. So Wood is number 1. Joao Pedro
goals.
Well, yes. Goals.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was
Joao Pedro.
I thought that was a question.
Dave, I'm surprised you're not all over this. This is Joao Pedro, 12, 8, and 9 in the last 3 game
I'm
weeks.
just kind of letting it sit there. It's funny. I have been early in the season. Everyone was on the Joao Pedro train.
Yeah,
I was never, and I feel like at the time I was proved right. But since he's come back in the last 3 weeks, again, Brighton's won their last 4 matchups.
Yeah.
So Joao Pedro is doing all the work to get them to those wins. Not all the work. He's doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think that's actually the opposite of what he's doing because he's very poachy. Very, very poachy.
That's what I want. That's what I want in a striker.
Scrappy. Fighting in the box.
I want him getting as a defender who doesn't know he's coming is kicking the ball out of the box, and he somehow Eric Lamella's his leg in there so that the defender kicks him. Brian, you remember? You remember the Eric Lamella?
One of my favorite plays ever.
What, the Rabona goal?
No,
that was unbelievable.
That was wild.
Even a hater like you has to admit that was.
That's
awesome.
True. That was ridiculous.
A super hater like you,
I know,
loved that.
You know what I'm talking about? The Eric Lamella in the box.
Got kicked by someone, Liverpool, a defender, Lamella, that was a Liverpool defender that was just thinking he was going to clear the ball. Lamella got a foot in faster than the guy could clear it.
But he didn't see him coming.
Right.
The defender never saw him coming.
Yeah. Just Andy Robertson. Yep.
And then they call the pen, and it's like the most unfortunate penalty of all time.
Yep.
And Lamella just weaseled his way in there.
Yep.
Joao Pedro did that this past weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not end up selling Raul Jimenez. I benched Raul Jimenez this week. I had a suspicion that he was going to start, and of course he scored this week and got 2 bonus points. So he goes for an 8. So of course that was my first
on your bench. Nice.
Yeah. All I was hoping is that anyone would sit out this week, and they did not. They're the same money, and so that's where if it were me on a wild card, I don't know how I wouldn't end up with Joao Pedro as my 5.5 third forward.
Question.
Although, let me just say, in 2025, the forward who has attempted the most shots.
Evan Nilsson.
No. Raul Jimenez, 34 shots
In the calendar year?
for Raul Jimenez in the calendar year, despite playing 641 minutes.
That's weird.
Wissa second with 33 shots in 809 minutes. Cunha is actually probably the craziest one because he has 32 shots and he's only played 584 minutes in the calendar. Yeah. Cunha would be crushing it right now.
Just think if Cunha was at Arsenal. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
If Cunha was literally anywhere else, he'd be amazing.
Think of that. The one I was going to say that matters to you, we already talked about Holland. Wissa makes sense to me because of the schedule, but Evan Nielsen, 5th most transferred in, and I think that's the danger for all Dango owners now that Evan
I know.
And Evan Nielsen
I
scored
can't get rid of
week.
Dango fast enough at this point.
Yeah,
you guys
I
both
agree
are on
with that.
Dango.
Yep.
You actually did listen to the numbers on the podcast and it ended up coming back and biting you.
Of course.
That's funny.
Of course.
Marmouche down to 6th. Good job.
Who?
Good job, everyone who went after him. Finally got benched this past week. Only played 21 minutes, and the regret alarms started sounding. So,
hey, still great player. Just
excellent.
Not a great choice.
Yeah, he's
Great
great.
movement.
He's great.
Nice.
You'd have taken him. I'd have taken him.
Get you another Doku.
What's crazy is
He's better than
that
that. Way better than that.
Beto's underlying numbers still continue to be unbelievable. I think that we talked about it last week.
You can't talk me into that.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that he's blanked two
Name's
in a row.
Beto. Why would you?
2 in a row blanks, but a 0.62 XG 2 weeks ago against Brentford. Last week a 0.71 XG, like probably should have scored. And he has the most big chances easily in the amount of times, like since he's had this run of starts in game week 23. He's got like 10 or 11 big chances or something like that. Far and away the most big chances of any forward. Yes, you can talk yourself into it, Dave. They're playing They're playing West Ham. I can't my whole deal because I have to start. This is exciting for me. I get to start Jake O'Brien and Mikolenko this week.
Wow.
As 2 of my startable defenders.
Let's go.
Oh, I can't wait. A home game against West Ham, please.
Yes.
0-0. Oh,
let's go.
if only there can be double clean sheets on those guys. But Beto, yeah, not bad this week. We talked about that last week when you were gone. After that, Everton's schedule almost literally off a cliff. The reddest of the red in the weeks after that.
Okay.
But Beto, because of his price, easy to bench.
That's right. That's
It's easy to bench anybody. You just push a button.
That's true.
Oh, don't
Twice.
be such a hater,
I think
Travis.
you have to push it
All
twice.
right. Night moves and captains. I feel like we've already kind of covered that. Travis, any on the pod moves?
No, I have no idea.
Me neither.
I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Brian, you never make on the pod moves, and you rarely ever make moves before the pod. Have you done any this week?
No, I haven't made any moves. The reason why was I wanted to get through Champions League games just out of curiosity. I was really torn. My assumption this whole time has been Morgan Rogers is going. I want another midfielder
Reasonable.
for this game week because
Which is why you did the deep dive on Forest.
right. And then as I was doing that, I was like, what am I doing? I have 3 Forest players already.
Let me go back to the ladder and figure this out.
So according to the ladder of rungs, if I calculate correctly, no, that Morgan Rogers was my assumption. I was assuming he was coming out, and now I'm like, well, if Trent's injured.
Yeah, Konate is sounding like is maybe just fatigue, and he was just a little knock, and it was precautionary because they got another trophy to fight for this weekend. Trent is not. That was a very clear.
Right.
The sounds are getting louder that it is not good.
So the other issue is that part of my, and this has been part of my non-negotiable sale of Trent Alexander-Arnold for week on week, was that it was after the blank. Going back to Everton, I think it's 4 weeks or whatever after that are really good matchups for Liverpool. So to me, it was there's no way I'm getting rid of him. Injury changes that. And coming out of the break,
he's dropped down the ladder.
He's way down the ladder, and I don't want to have one. I don't want Mikolenko and Jake O'Brien. I don't want an Everton. I don't want anything to do with Everton after game week 29. I've got 2 defenders. So right now, my viable defenders in game week 30 are 2 Everton guys, Nico Williams and Daniel Munoz.
Ooh.
So Trent,
You really only need to do one,
Just
right?
wild card and change it all, man.
right? Wild card's coming up, but that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering now, like, I've been assuming it was going to be Morgan Rogers this whole time, but I'm like, there's not like a
Maybe it's Trent. Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's not, and Rogers isn't playing, so it wouldn't be a bad idea. But neither is Trent, so it's
right.
a wash, right?
The very obvious, like, I don't really need to think about it too much, and this is like the most boring move ever. Is Rogers out, Clivert in? That's like
after all of that, you're gonna go with Clivert over
He can't go to a force midfielder.
Alenga.
He can't. He's already got 3 force players.
Wood.
Nico Williams and Sells.
My favorite player ever.
I listen.
Wood, Nico, Sells.
I listen.
I just
Travis
can't.
doesn't.
I know.
I just can't. We
Brian,
waste all that time talking about forest midfielders.
Brian, who are you captaining this week?
C is currently on Bruno Fernandes.
Yep.
The V is on Chris Wood, although
it's Chris Wood.
You know what?
It is absolutely Chris Wood.
I'm the same.
He will be the top captain.
I got the V on Chris Wood.
Chris Wood.
My captain. Hold on. What were we gonna say?
He was gonna say he might switch it to Palmer.
That's a toss up to me.
No, it's not. I unfortunately I'm gonna repeat exactly what Brian said. Captain on Bruno and vice on Chris Wood. Travis.
Wood.
Captaining Wood.
Captaining Wood.
Captain Wood this week.
Vice on Vissa.
Oh.
I don't hate that.
Okay. No, I don't.
This is good.
Do you have Boomo and Vissa?
I do.
You captain Vissa over Boom?
Yeah, for this time. I don't know. I just,
Hey, sometimes it's a Vissa day, and sometimes it's a Boomo
put my
day.
hands out and I close my eyes. I just feel how the wind is blowing.
Just feel it, man.
And then I just know what I need to do.
Feel
and you know what? It has gotten me really low on the table.
Yes,
to do
perfect. Do that.
The number one forward this calendar year, so since this turn of 2025, Johan Wissa.
Yeah,
that's Vissa. You can't say it like a W.
Johan Wissa.
You don't know how to say.
16 shots on target, number one of every forward for shots on target in 2025.
Where does he rank on forwards with hair? Like if you include the ones that have hair.
Bottom rung.
Oh.
He has no hair.
Yeah.
He's ahead of Holland for shots on target.
Who does have hair?
Holland's got 15.
Wow.
Yeah, and actually, as Johan Wissa is the highest XG of all forwards also in 2025. 7.23 XG, which is 2 higher actually than Holland. And he's ahead of Mateta actually in that.
Wow.
It's just that Mateta has more real goals.
Mateta has real goals. Imagine that, Travis. All right, Brian.
Aren't you? Are you
going
to kick it around with whether you're going to captain Wood?
No.
Wood.
No.
Everybody's going to be on that.
It's Bruno.
Yes. Wood.
They're both away.
Bruno. 10-10-9. Bruno.
Bruno's at Leicester. Wood. I might captain Nico Williams.
Stones. Massive John Stones if you do.
Yeah,
which I love.
It'll probably be
I might captain Jared Bowen.
I'm switching to Ola Aina.
Just kidding. I'm not captaining Jared Bowen. Bruno Fernandes is my captain this week. I'm following the form. Chasing the form, chasing the points.
Honestly, if you wanted to, if you really wanted to go crazy, one of the Bournemouth guys are not crazy if you have them.
Oh, jeez.
Even them being home to Brentford, like that's not an easy game.
It's not.
No, but Brentford is an easy defense.
Okay.
I'm just saying Evan Nielsen. If you had Evan Nielsen, if you have Kluivert, thinking Kluivert on penalties. Kluivert actually for open play has been
really good
way
recently.
better than I would have ever
really good
thought.
recently.
He's been actually good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't fight that. So.
All right. Gentlemen, well done.
Fight it.
Well done. Thank you for having me back. I missed last week. Thank you for carrying on.
We always do.
In my stead, as obviously you don't need me. For the FP mail. See exactly why you don't need me.
FP Mel.
For the FPL America podcast, this is David Smith. Until next time.
FP Mail.